YouTube, what's good? It's Zude back with another video for you guys, and today we're going to be reacting to the behind the scenes of creating the Batman movie. Most people that are close to me know that this is my favorite Batman movie. Dark Knight obviously is in its own league, but if we're talking about purely a Batman movie, centralized focus on Bruce Wayne becoming Batman himself, to me this is the best movie. A lot of people say it's boring. My rebuttal to that is your attention span is just not long enough, because I thought the movie was very, very interesting. The cinematography might be top 5 cinematography I've ever seen in a movie. And yeah, that's just my opinion on it. I know, like I said, other people feel different, but since it is my favorite Batman movie, I thought we could take a look at the behind the scenes of creating it. So let's get into it. All right, so y'all know I love the Batman, the one that came out a couple years ago with Pattinson, or Robert Pattinson. But I want to check this out. I always love watching like behind the scenes stuff of my favorite films. So yeah, let's check it out. Let's see how they created the Batman.
Rolling. Hey Tina, table.
I was approached while I was in post-production for War for the Planet of the Apes. And when I was first contacted by Warner Brothers, I didn't understand what the
Matt Reeves, the motherfucking GOAT. I was skeptical of this movie when it first came out. I saw the leaks of the Batman suit, the leaks that Robert Pattinson was gonna play Batman. I was skeptical, I'm not gonna lie. But the way that this man put together this movie, chef's kiss. And you know what? I got a bone to pick with a lot of people who say, oh, this isn't how Batman is. I call bullshit simply because there is a comic book. I don't know if it's year 1 or year 2, but it's called like Batman Year 1 or Year 2. And it's basically about a young Bruce Wayne struggling to be the Batman in his first years. Like, this is not a movie about Batman already being Batman and having been Batman for 10 to 20 years. This is about a fucking young Bruce Wayne learning how to become Batman. So I don't understand people's takes on this movie, because it fits in its lane perfectly. They had a vision. They wanted to, rebrand the Batman in a different sense, because anytime we've seen Bruce Wayne or Batman, it's always been, billionaire, tech guy, already older. He's either in his young 30s, late 20s, or in the case of Ben Affleck, he was an old Batman. You know what I mean? So I'm not here for the whole, oh, this movie is this and that and it didn't do this, and it serves its purpose so perfectly. And like I said in the beginning, people saying it's boring, your attention spans short as hell, because the way it just feels like such a perfect grounded movie for the Batman. It's not crazy, it's not over the top. It's a perfect lane for this story. So I just want to say my piece. This man goated. The whole point I was making, he's goated. The way he set up the characters, the way he wrote, perfect lane.
the meeting was for. So I kept turning it down. And then finally my agent called me one day and he said, listen, that general meeting with Warner Brothers, it's not a general meeting. It's about Batman.
I was just starting Christopher Nolan's movie Tenet, and then 2 days later would have to come back to do the Batman screen test. Yeah, it was like a super high pressure scenario.
You know, auditions are always, they're strange and they're scary and you're nervous. They have a proper camera, but it's cool because you kind of get a taste of what it will really be like on set. Yeah, they gave me a motorcycle helmet and I had to take the helmet off, which was my biggest fear, was like, I'm gonna get stuck with the helmet. And I was like, that's how I lose this job. But Rob was half in a bat suit. It was like this kind of like in-between worlds. Like we were almost there, but not quite.
I mean, the whole thing is terrifying. I mean, I was putting on the suit from Batman Forever, and for one thing, the suit is pretty old. It's been in storage for a while. It's also incredibly precious. If I even slightly exert myself, I'm pouring sweat. And also just trying to figure out how to project.
Wait, is he talking about the Kevin Costner, or not the Kevin Costner? What's the guy? I don't know the guy's name. He played Falcon, or not Falcon, Vulture in Spider-Man. That guy's suit, bro, you couldn't even turn your motherfucking neck. That hoe was motherfucker had to do this shit. Oh, I'm bumping the camera, but motherfucker turning around like this and shit. Like, I couldn't imagine wearing it after so many years. Like, oh god.
To performance through a mask, basically, it's kind of, you realize pretty quickly that this is way harder than a normal part.
One of the things that distinguishes Batman as a comic superhero relative to most of the others is Gotham. That's very recognizable, obviously styled off largely New York. And so he's grounded in a way that's kind of uniquely relatable.
Matt was very
Boy, that scene right there when he's holding the girl and then he's looking up as they're flying off. Goated fucking shot. Goated.
very clear saying he wanted to make this is a detective story that right from the beginning. And so you think, okay, so he's the greatest detective in the world. What makes a good detective? Someone who just is exceptionally observant.
I always think of filmmaking as a kind of, you're going on a search, and you're searching for the things that stick with you. On this movie, what started the process was I just started reading comic books. I went back to 1939, and I just basically did a deep dive in the comics, and anything connected, I just wrote down. Basically, what the notebook is for me is a way to have a dialogue with myself, because otherwise I would just be saying these things and then I wouldn't remember anything. But if I write it down and then
And this is what makes this movie so good. Staying true to the comics and having a plan and executing that plan as best as you can. Like I said, I just don't understand how people don't understand this movie and they say it's boring. I know it's 3 hours, but it's just the way he planned it out, the way he envisioned it was just perfect.
keep revisiting it, I start having a kind of document that shows what I'm interested in and what things sort of struck a chord with me, and eventually a story starts to emerge. I gave Bruce a notebook as well because I felt that he needed to have that kind of dialogue with himself, and I thought, wow, this is so Batman.
Matt gave us a sort of idea that he'd like him to be a bit like Kurt Cobain. So from that, I looked at lots of different images of Kurt Cobain and what the crossover was, who he becomes when he takes his cowl off. And the whole Kurt Cobain black eye makeup sort of really struck me, and I liked the idea that he had the remains of his Batman makeup on and it looked very rock and roll.
He spends a lot of time in darkness. That long hair really helped with creating that side of his character. At one stage we were talking about shaving all his hair off, and I'm glad we didn't go down that road.
There's a film by Gus Van Sant called Last Days, which is kind of a fictionalized account of the last days of Kurt Cobain, and he's got all his stuff spread all over it. And I thought, well, this is the version of Batman and Bruce Wayne that I understand.
I knew where he was coming from in this kind of slightly nihilistic.
You know who I am? You're Bruce Wayne. I want to see Carmine Falcone.
There's something more emotional and doesn't necessarily know that he's going to save the day. He doesn't know if being Batman is going to work or do anything. He knows that there is no other option. Basically, the options are kind of death or being Batman.
This is the 5th movie that Michael Giacchino and I have done. That to me is a very exciting collaboration. I love working with him. The night before Rob was to screen test, he sent me a secret little MP4. It was both.
That right there, that the score is unbelievable. That's Something in the Way. Like, come on. The score is crazy too, man. What more do I need to say?
Bruce's theme and Batman's theme in this incredible suite. And I was blown away. It was so emotional. I drove to the set that morning, and Dylan Clark, my producing partner who was in this from the beginning with me, we're like brothers. I said, you have to get in the car. I said, what do you mean? So just get in the car.
And we sat in his car. I was in his passenger seat, and I didn't know what I was going to listen to. He goes, listen to this. And he pressed play, and it's Batman's theme.
I played it as Rob was putting that makeup on his eyes, and I was like, this is in the movie. We're doing this. That's where that scene comes from. It literally came out of Rob's audition. Okay, good, cut. It was one of those things where I just felt like this was a very special, fated day. But there we were listening to the music, knowing that he was going to put on
The sound effects of those punches. And when he looks up and he says, motherfucker said, who are you? Motherfucker said, I'm vengeance. Come on, man. Look, one of the best fight scenes. It's obviously not better than, you know, the Batman v Superman scene when he fights off like 20 dudes. Like, that was just the best Batman fighting scene ever. But it's close. The vibe, you know, it's raining, it's dark. You know what I mean? Like I said, the sound of the punches, like, just, it shakes you. You know what I mean? Like, so dope.
this bat suit that was part of the history of Batman. It was just one of these things where you suddenly felt you were in a long line of history that meant so much.
Oh man, that was dope. Just to see like the mind behind it, how he came up with it. I thought it was dope how, you know, he went back and read the comics. He wrote some notes down. When you have a director and a writer who actually cares about the character and they will actually work hard to, you know, stay true to the earlier material but also put their own take on it, it serves as great filmmaking. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, The Dark Knight's obviously better. I'm just saying, as far as like a centralized Batman movie, Joker was a big part of that movie, you know, and that might be the greatest comic book movie ever, because that's also a great comic book movie. But I'm saying, it's, of it being just centralized on Batman, this is the best Batman movie by far. We can duke it out in the comments. Alrighty, you guys have a good one though. Zooted signing out.